Hello guys and gals, and welcome. So today we're going to be looking at a very interesting item. It's one that I actually have, and it's one that's been requested by quite a few people. And this is the Arm of King Leoric Tomb Wand. Now the Arm of King Leoric Tomb Wand can of course come in an ethereal form. I believe it can also even be upgraded if you wanted, but there's just no reason to. The Lich Wand is a nice wand and all, but it doesn't actually offer you any benefit to upgrade the Arm of King Leoric. It's just going to increase the physical damage, and it's going to increase the level to a rather high level. The strength requirement, I believe, is going to stay pretty much the same, but you'll go from a level 36 to a level 56 wand with relatively no real increase in its effects. Would generally just be a waste of runes. And the same thing for the ethereal version. When it comes to the ethereal version, you really just don't have to worry too much about ethereal wands, because as necromancers you don't really go in there and beat things very often. You don't have melee skills on your bar, and you don't really need to worry about it being ethereal because it shouldn't break. Now this wand does have some interesting effects, and some of them are ones that can get you killed, and we will explore those together. I'm going to go grab some potions because I'm going to need them to save my life from all the monsters that are going to be beating me to death. So let's start off with the first effect on here, which is a relatively silly one. It's a 5% chance to cast level 10 Bone Spirit when struck. Now, the Bone Spirit when struck is not really going to do very much damage. A level 10 Bone Spirit is about 190 average damage. And the thing about this, though, is if it's used on a Necromancer, you will get the synergy bonuses from your skills. So if you do happen to be a Poison and Bone Necro who is building into the Bone Spear, you're probably going to have all the necessary synergies to beef up Bone Spirit. And because of that, you will have a relatively powerful level 10 Bone Spirit coming out. Now it is only going to hit one target. It's not like Bone Spirit that pierces through, and the damage that it does is not going to be a super huge, massive amount. You're probably looking at somewhere between 2 to 3k for one hit. Most monsters are not going to be killed by one hit of 2 to 3k, but it is magic damage, so it's just a nice little benefit. Although not a lot of necromancers are going to be going around getting beat up to make this happen, so to keep that in mind. We also have a 10% chance to cast level 2 Bone Prison when struck. Now, the 10% chance to cast level 2 Bone Prison can actually get you into trouble. And this is one of the downsides of this particular weapon, and it's also one of the reasons why I recommend that if you use an Arm of King Leoric, you have some kind of teleport item handy to be able to get you out of trouble. And I'm going to do my best to demonstrate for you why this is trouble. And hopefully you guys will be able to see. So the first thing we need to do is find a bunch of melee monsters, and I need to get myself beat up. That's really all there is to it. We also have a ranged monster here. Let's see if we can get it to trigger on him. It's not always something that's possible, but there should be a whole bunch of ranged monsters around here, so let's see what we can find. Alright, so here we go. We've got several ranged monsters. Let's just go ahead and chug some potions here. And you'll see that at range, when it triggers, it goes around the monster at range. And this is not a bad thing. That's actually fairly nice. When the effect goes on a ranged monster, it doesn't get you killed. And in fact, it sort of keeps that monster in check. Now, these particular monsters, if you are unaware, they actually are capable of piercing targets. And that's the reason why the Bone Prison is not encompassing them properly. And there's no real big deal to that. Now, as you saw right there, there was a situation where I almost got stuck. So I was really close to that particular monster when the effect went off, and because Bone Prison doesn't care, friend or foe, what's going on. If you are a person or a player in a situation where you are too close to the monster when the Bone Prison triggers, you will get stuck in there with the monster, and this is a bad thing. So basically what we're looking at here is a situation where you're going to need to teleport out if things should go badly. And of course, I'm looking for melee monsters, and all I find are ranged monsters. Let me see if I can find a... I mean, I know that there's some low-level melee monsters that are definitely easy to find. Let's go play with them, shall we? Because this effect really needs to be demonstrated before you guys get into this particular item. So imagine we're in the Bloodmoor, we're trying to fight monsters, and the Bone Prison triggers. We try to get out. All right, so this time we can get out. All right, but let's get beat up a little bit more, shall we? Let's find another situation. As you can see, it doesn't trigger all the time. And it's not exactly like the worst thing in the world. Ooh, a cornet. But when it does trigger, trust me when I say that there will be times where it triggers and you will be stuck inside of a bone prison with a monster that you can't do anything about. And there's also another interesting thing that has happened to me before, which is when I was in Andariel's throne room and I stepped on the flames. The flames in Andariel's throne room are pretty vicious. And they triggered the bone wall, the bone prison, and I was stuck in a perfect bone prison. Because, of course, the reason why bone prison doesn't spawn perfectly is because there are other monsters around. So usually if you have a whole bunch of monsters around you, there is a very good chance that, that there will be a gap in the line and you can make it through. But getting stuck in there with a really particularly devastating monster is definitely bad. But I was in the fire, and the bone prison spawned perfect, and I was stuck in the fire, burning to death like this. And every single time the fire managed to proc the bone prison just got bigger and bigger, and I was like, I really need to get out of here. And I didn't have any teleport item at the particular time, and I was literally stuck in the fire, burning to death. And I think I had to save and exit to get out, because I was literally just stuck in the fire for an infinite period of time. And unfortunately, my mercenary has has paid the ultimate price for my testing here. I'm sorry, mercenary. Jeez. He does better with me, not without me. He likes the amp damage curse. It's good for him. So we've gone over the bad effect, and let's keep going. So we've got +2 to summoning skills, which is amazing. Just having a flat +2 to summoning skills on an item is definitely nice. Of course, +2 to Necromancer would be better, but +2 summoning is not something that I would be very sad at. And this doesn't necessarily not have +2 to Necromancer, because it also has +2 to Bone and Prison. Bone and Poison skills. And the funny thing about this is that most Necromancers don't really even care too much about the +2 curses, so it's the only thing it's really missing is the curses. We also have +10 to faster cast, which is very nice. 10% faster cast is going to help with those corpse explosions and curse spamming, and if you did happen to use this on a poison and bone necro, like a bone spear necro, the faster cast would help you cast faster. Now I do believe that the white wand is technically the most the superior wand for a bone spear necromancer, especially if you can get one with +3 bone spear and something like maybe like +3 to lower resist or something like that. That would be a pretty awesome combo. But this does have faster cast, which is nice. We also have +2 to raise Skeletal Mage, which because of the +2 summoning, we're looking at +4 Skeletal Mage. We also have +2 Terror, which is not really that big of a deal. +3 Raise Skeleton, which is +5 to Raise Skeleton because of the +2 summoning, and +3 Skeleton Mastery, which is +5 to the Skeleton Mastery because of the +2 summoning, which is really, really nice. And this particular wand that I have socketed into it a 14 all resistance jewel. So as you see there, I have 14 all res. That comes from the 14 all res jewel that I've put in there. Now, of course, you can have this socketed. You can put whatever you want in here. There's a lot of different things that you could put in here potentially. Mainly things that are going to beef up your defenses, because that's kind of the main thing that you would do on a Necromancer. There's not a lot to beef up your army. You know, skill points beef up your army, and it's not like there's a jewel that has +2 to all skills on it that you can socket into an item. So you really have to go with things like resistances or defense, or some form of mitigation to effects like reduced damage by, you know, various things like that, which is very nice. And I decided on an all resistance 14 jewel. It's not as good as an Umrune. Umrune is actually all resistance 15, if I remember correctly. But one off on the res to save me an Umrune is not a bad thing. Now, this particular wand is, I believe, best in slot for a summon Necromancer in general. And if I take you to my summon tree, you will see that my Necromancer has some pretty amazing skeletons. And I want to point out that the equipment that I'm wearing is mainly Magic Find equipment. So let me put on some of my more detailed equipment that actually has the plus to skills and things that I'm looking for. I'm also missing one of my plus summoning charms because I'm using a Gaheeds, which is for the Magic Find, and I don't have any plus to skill rings. I do have a plus to skill belt, though, that I'm hanging on to. And let me go grab that just for dramatic effect so that we can have all the plus skills that I could possibly muster. Alright, so here we go. I've got my Arachnid's Mesh here, and I also am running a +3 Necromancer Torch as well as the Annihilist Charm. So I've got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, plus 20 to skills essentially here, with also some +2 skeleton mastery on my boots, and the +3 skeleton and skeleton mastery on the wand. So we've got quite a large number of plus to skills, right? Well, this isn't even the highest form that we can go. We can also grab rings. So I could be using 2 rings, which would give me +2 more. So I'd be looking at 45 skeleton. I could also be using 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more plus summoning skill chamois, which is a total of, what, 45, so 50, level 50 skeletons. And as you can see, my skeletons are no slouches. My skeletons are currently doing a damage of 718 to 722 per skeleton. The skeleton mastery is extremely high, which also helps out the revives, which is very nice. And even though the mages aren't very good, we actually just heard in a patch recently, just yesterday, if you haven't seen that, it's up on my page, that the skeleton mages are going to get buffed. So, so maybe we will see some love for the skeleton mages at some point. But essentially, think about the Arm of King Leoric as a huge boost to your skeletons. Just as a dramatic effect, let's take a look and see what the skeletons are, damage-wise, without the Arm of King Leoric. So 718 to 722, and they go down to 548 to 552. So a pretty low damage on them. I mean, they lose, what is that? 500 to 550 to 722. What's the difference there? 722 minus 550. That's a total of 172 damage off of the skeletons. And to give you an idea of how much these skeletons do, because you know it doesn't really like give you a good idea just looking at it right here. So let's bring up the calculator, shall we? We're going to bring up the calculator. So here's the calculator. Alright, so here we have the skill. The skill says 718 to 722. So let's take an average of 720. We are also capable of summoning, what is that? 16 skeletons in total with our plus to skills. So 720 times 16 equals 11,520. Alright. Then we also have to add in the fact that we can cast Amplify Damage. So we can cast Amplify Damage and boost up the damage of our skeletons essentially by 2. We can also break immunities, which is very nice. So, so we have to multiply this by 2. Which means that our skeletons are doing about 23,040 damage per rotation. 23,040 damage is a lot of damage. Most melee characters struggle to do 23,000 damage in a single rotation. So if I had all my skeletons on top of a target, I teleport on top of them, which is what I do with my amulet. All the skeletons will be focused on this target, which means all the skeletons will be attacking that one guy and absolutely murdering him. All right, murder. Now, of course, this goes up even higher. You can, of course, bring this up with some more skill points. And like I said, I'm using Marrow Walks, which is also nice. And I could use a couple more summoning jammies, who know, just for testing purposes. But, it's very nice to have this plus summoning skills, not only for the skeleton damage, but also for your golem survivability. The clay golem gets a huge slows enemy with plus to skills. You also have the golem mastery, which increases his attack rating, life, and run walk speed. And then, of course, the summon resistance, which is also very nice to have, because the summon resistance is huge to make your character very powerful. I only have 6 base points in this, and I could probably take them out now that I have all these plus to skills, but the summon resistance helps keep all my skeletons alive, and this is very important for a lot of reasons. If I go over here and I can form my army, which, why would I make a Necromancer video without at least forming an army? So let's go do this, shall we? So let's grab our golem. And let's use some of these rotting corpses on the ground to create us some minions. And let me pull the calculator off the screen because I'm a big dummy. So we're going to teleport our army in. So we need an army first to actually get this effect going. But let's go ahead and get this army summoned. And as you can see, as my army increases and as I get more and more skeletons, the damage goes up and up and up. And so now I've got my 16 skeletons. So let's go ahead and grab some mages too, just for dramatic effect. I believe I'm capable of 9 mages, which is pretty impressive since I only have 1 point in them. And I'm also capable of a large number of revives. And these revives will come in super handy for killing things. They don't last very long, but they are incredibly high damage. Now, here's a elite monster. So we're going to teleport on top of him. And you notice that my entire army is now focused in one location for a brief period of time. Whatever monster it is that I teleport on top of is super duper duper awesome dead. Because he's not only getting the full brunt force of that 23,000 damage that we just talked about from my skeletons, he's also getting the full brunt force of the skeleton mages and the full brunt force of the entire army of revives. So when you teleport on top of a monster like that with a Necromancer, you've just got this huge damage bonus. And of course, what is the Arm of King Leoric about? It's all about focusing that damage on specific targets. It's all about getting you in there with your giant army and basically making it so that your army is more powerful. You were literally the arm of King Leoric, the ruler of the army. You're like the king, right? Because Leoric was the king, and as the summon Necromancer, you're going to take advantage of these things. And having teleport is, of course, going to make the Arm of King Leoric usable, because without it, you are going to get stuck in those awkward situations that we talked about earlier. And I've gone on for 20 minutes about the Arm of King Leoric. I guess the last thing that we could do is talk about where you can find the Arm of King Leoric. Let me go ahead and pull up the treasure class real quick. So, D2 treasure class. And we're going to search for Arm of King Leoric. So one thing that I haven't talked about in previous videos is Q level. Actually, I talked about it once in a previous video. So actually, I'm wrong. In my original Magic Find video, I talked about Q level. And it's important to note that when an item has a certain treasure class, it doesn't necessarily mean it can drop there. Because Q level of an item can sometimes be higher than the treasure class, you have to take that into account as well. Now in this particular case, the Arm of King Leoric has a Q level of 44, and it is in the 45 treasure class, so it does drop in the 45 zones. So you can find this in any level 43 zone, all the way up to Hell difficulty, of course. And if we take a look at the area level for D2 and look for level 43 zones, we will find a relatively wealthy list. It looks to me like everywhere past Act 1 Nightmare. So just about every zone past Act 1 Nightmare. So Act 2 Nightmare and up, probably Andariel as well. And there are a couple zones in Act 1, like Catacombs level 3 and Catacombs level 4, which are level 43. For the most part, it looks like if you are past Act 2 Nightmare difficulty, you will start to see a chance for the Arm of King Leoric to drop. Now, of course, it has to drop a Tomb Wand, and it has to be from a monster that is at least level 45 or higher. So even when you're in those level 43 zones, do keep in mind that it has to be from an elite or a champion. Actually, no, just an elite. 43 is just an elite, and 44 is champion, because in a 44 zone, champions are +1, and elites are +2 levels. Finding this wand is a little bit difficult. I haven't found one yet. Some of my group members did, and of course we share items back and forth between each other, which is something that, you know, is a boon to having a group. Is that you know, your paladin friend or your sorceress friend or your druid friend might find this wand, and it's going to be absolutely no use to them, and giving it to you is just the best possible use. Of course, they could also trade it, but if you're in a group structure and you're trying to look out for each other, why not give the necro item to the necromancer? I feel like it's important. Look at all my standards. They do nothing, by the way. Anyway, I do appreciate you guys and gals watching my videos, and if you haven't seen the patch notes update for 2.4, go ahead and take a look at that. And make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. It really helps. Thanks for watching.